Hello, this is my deck profile from top 64 from YCS Utrecht. I'm now 3 for 3 in big event tops this year, with Nationals, Euros, and now YCS Utrecht. I went to 8-1 day 1 and finished Swiss in 17th and 10-2. I went with Mathmech because I'm very confident with the deck. I think it is a strong deck, and I didn't want to invest the time or money into Runic Sprite right at the end of a format. At the end of this video, I will also share my thoughts on how I think Mathmech changes in the next format with Darkwing Blast. So let's get on into it. I play 3 Mathmech Circular, 3 Power Exceed. This card's really good. It's also a starter card. You can link 1 and summon Power Exceed, make Alan Bershon, search Circular. It's very good, and even if they hand trap you there, you can still make Heat Soul most of the time. And then we have 3 Small World and 3 Sunnet Mining. Mining was weird. Got hit by Ash and Carrots a lot because discarding for cost can be steep, but searching for Circular is very good, so this card is mandatory. And then one of the spice cards of the weekend that I played was Meowsclick, which you probably can't read from this very small card here, but I'll put it up on the screen right there. And then what this card does is, as soon as Meowsclick hits the board, the effects of your opponent's field spells are negated during your turn. This means that if they have a bunch of runic spells in hand with Fountain on board, then they cannot activate any runic spells from their hand. And it also gives the deck a super easy out to Mystic Mine, because we have the 3 Small Worlds and the 3 Sunnet Mining. You might quite often see Mathmech Induction being played to out Mystic Mine, but I think that card is bad. 1 pop isn't very good, and once Mystic Mine is activated, you have no way of searching Induction, whereas Meowsclick can be searched with both Mining and Small World. The only Mathmech spells and traps that I do play are 1 Factorial and 1 Equation. Neither of these are bricky like Induction, but I still would not play multiples of any to avoid bad hands. Some people play 2 Factorial, but I think that 2 is rather bricky. Equation lets you extend into boards, push through hand traps and set up OTKs. Then I play 3 Addition and 3 Subtraction. So I chose to play 3 Subtraction and 3 Addition because the more of these you draw, the easier you can play through hand traps and the easier you can push through the opponent's field. I did not play Multiplication and Final Sigma because I instead chose to play 2 Splash Mage in the extra deck, which leaves no room for the Final Sigma. But I do think that Sigma and Multiplication are quite good, and I definitely would consider trying those, but I could not find any Multiplication in time for the event. But that being said, I do actually like 2 Splash Mage a lot, but we'll get to that more in the extra deck. And then I play 2 Diameter. I don't play 3 because you search this card very easily. And then 2 Sigma. I don't play 3 because you send this with Circular. And then for the hand traps, I play 3 Droll, 1 Nibiru. Okay, so let's take a moment to explain this one. So there's 2 high impact hand traps you can play, which is Droll and Nib. You don't want to play both because neither are too great against the element. In Mathmech you have to play at least 1 Nib because it is a Small World bridge. Normally for Veiler into Nibiru into Circular. Most Mathmech builds go with 3 Nib, which I think is maybe better if you are playing 14 to 15 hand traps. But since I am playing only 12, I think that Droll is better. The reason is because when you only have 1 hand trap, you would rather it be Droll. 1 Nib and no other hand traps is a lot easier to play around than 1 Droll and no other hand traps. While this logic would not be correct for a deck like Runic Sprite, that is because Runic Sprite has more in-engine disruption than Mathmech does. In something like Runic Sprite, that 1 Nib, even if not accompanied by another hand trap, is likely at least paired with something like Flashing Fire or Freezing Curses. Then we have 3 Veiler and 3 Imperm. Imperm can be a bit sad to draw off Heat Soul in their turn because you can't use it then, but despite that I feel like Imperm is too good to not play in a hand trap deck. Ash and Bell are both small world bridges, Ash lets you bridge into addition and subtraction, and Bell lets you bridge into Meowsclick. And then I play 2 Cosmic. This is good against the Runic decks, against T-Element for Saliek. It's okay versus Pure Sprites, because you can hit smashes. It's also good against Flunderies. Cosmic plus Meowsclick plus an Extender actually outs the entire Flunderies board, because you Cosmic the Dreaming Town and draw phase, then normal summon the Meowsclick, and then they cannot map. So then you go punch over Barrier Statue, main phase 2 Extender, summon Alan Bershon defense, and then you can search for Circular, and then you can break their board apart a little bit, which isn't too great, but it's better than just losing to the Barrier Statue on the spot, which is nice. I think that going forwards, I would likely not play these and play 2 more hand traps. The reason being that I felt like I needed more outs to Mystic Mine, when in reality I think that just having the Meowsclick was enough. And then last card in the deck we play the 1, Called By. And then on to the extra deck. We have 2 Alan Bershon, 1 Laplacian. I don't play 2 Factorial, so 2 Laplacian doesn't really come up too much. And then onto the Link 1s, we have Amirage. This card is a requirement to use Parallel Exceed, because you can turn a hand trap into this, and then summon Parallel. And then we have Linkuriboh for a similar reason, and also being able to negate Imperm is pretty good too. And then when the opponent hits you with Nibiru, we have the Link Spider. And we also have 2 Splash Mage. So the reason why 2 is really good is because when you get hand trapped, a lot of the time you make 1 Splash Mage to make Heat Soul, so then you kind of want to have the other one in the extra deck to make Transcode on a following turn. Although that being said, if you are playing Final Sigma and Multiplication, then you would probably have the second one be a Final Sigma instead. And then we play Wicked, Jammer, and IP. And to summon with the IP, we have an Avramax. Even outside of IP, this card's really good because it's a Cyberse, so it can easily be summoned even if you are Cyberse locked. And we have Heat Soul, Transcode, and Access Code. I don't like Disciple Devotee because I think that Heat Soul Pass Drawing 2 is better, because even if you open up a bunch of extenders, you can still make Heat Soul plus IP, which is pretty nice. And then onto the side deck, we have another Spice card of the weekend, which was 3 copies of Retaliating Sea. So I would side this card in against Runic Sprite. You can chain it to either Starter or to any of the quick play spells if they choose to summon. And what it does is it banishes every card sent to the graveyard. It won't always stick around on the field, but if it does, it's pretty nice, and it can be used to make Alan Bershon. It's also good versus plants too, because it can be chained to the Sowing, the second and third Nib. And then Skullmeister. Against here, we search this with Alan Bershon, which I did in my feature match. Against Pure Tier, you would go Factorial into this in the draw phase and search it. But because Jack was playing a Scareclaw build, I did not draw phase do that, because Laplacian is actually fairly decent against the Scareclaw build. But since he did Cosmic Cyclone in the draw phase, it was better at that point to go into Alan Bershon and search for the Skullmeister. You could also maybe go for Alan Bershon against Runic Sprite and search for Retaliating Sea, but Laplacian's really good there, so you would much rather do that most of the time instead. And then you can also search Firecracker with Alan Bershon, but it never came up. I only went into time once, but even then I didn't side it in. And we have the third Cosmic Cyclone for the Floodgate decks, and also for T-Element as well. Also we have 3 evenly matched for T-Element, and also for back row decks. And then for the going first cards, I have 2 DDG and 2 Rivalry. So I played 2 of each, because if I play a matchup where one's good and the other isn't, I want to have the option to have always 2 of them. Whereas, for example, if I play against a deck like Sprite, and I have like 3 DDG, I want to be able to put in more of this. Whereas if I play a deck where this is better, like, I don't know, the mirror match for example, then I would much rather have the option to put in 2 of this rather than only having 1 of it. And yeah, thanks to my friends who travelled with me for making the event an enjoyable experience, especially to Connor and Fleet for driving, and to Owen for doing a lot of testing with me. I lost to Scareclaw Element on feature match in the end, but thanks to Owen I knew what that deck did, which was why I factorialed when I did in game 1, because if I did not, then I would have gotten hit by the Fleur. Also, thanks to our sponsor for the event, who you can see on the screen here. As for Mathmech after Darkwing Blast, I think it struggles to keep up with T-Element, and the Bystials are really good against Mathmech, because you have Dynamasor's Lights, Sigma's Light, Soaker's Lights, but you can also play the Bystials in Mathmech, because they are good to draw off Heat Soul. So I do think that Mathmech is in a difficult spot after Darkwing Blast, but adapting to the meta is very possible, because of how much tech room the deck has. Sorry if I missed anything important, I'll try and answer some other questions in the comments as well, but I got back only just now on the Monday and want to get this video up as soon as possible. Shout out to Alex Robertson, as we've been following each other into Top Cut in every event recently. It's cool that we both got our first Euros and YCS tops at the same time this year. And finally, shout out to the man himself, Joshua Schmidt, for taking it all and becoming a very deserving 3 times YCS champion. Thank you for watching and have a perfectly balanced rest of your day. Adios.